Almost every tool we use in modern development has shifted toward cloud-first workflows. But now, even tools that used to be purely local are increasingly tied into cloud infrastructure. I don't think cloud-first is bad, but I think it should be optional. I should be able to test my APIs locally and only sync to the cloud when I choose to. But it's not just about outages or downtime. The bigger concern for many engineering teams is control over sensitive API data. Even when platforms encrypt data properly, syncing data to the cloud still increases the security and compliance surface you have to manage. This model works just fine for some teams, but in larger or security-sensitive environments, developers often prefer local-first workflows where data stays closer to the code base. That's why I use Requestly as my API client. It's lightweight, doesn't consume many system resources, and most importantly, it's local first. You don't even need to log in, just create a new local project, or import your existing Postman collection in one click. And everything you work with, your collections, environments, secrets, and test data live as plain files on your machine. Nothing leaves your local boundary unless you explicitly push it. And you can store this data locally in your Git repository for individual projects or share it with your team using Git-based collaboration. I created a simple REST API, a task management app with endpoints for creating, reading, updating, and deleting tasks and users. I use some environment variables and parameters to make requests. And when I save that, you can see all the data is in the project folder. Now it's version controllable, so I can actually use this folder in my code base. I have my backend and frontend applications. And this is the folder for the API client. Now, instead of API collections being trapped inside a vendor workspace, they become part of your code base. So I can push it to my GitHub repository. And if I want to make any changes, let's say I want to add one more endpoint, and all I need to do is save my project and send it to my repository. I can see the changes, and if everything is okay, I can push it. Git is now the source of truth, not a cloud sync server you don't control. And you can open multiple local workspaces simultaneously. This is especially useful in microservices architectures, where each service typically lives in its own Git repository, often owned by different teams with their own access control. Know who has the access to this collection confusion, just Git permissions. But if your team prefers real-time collaboration, Requestly also supports team projects. And unlike many API platforms that restrict collaborations in free tiers, Requestly's free plan still includes up to 10 collaborators at no cost. Now let's talk about testing, because after the AI coding revolution, one of the biggest challenges is validating whether the generated code actually works correctly. Let's say my getTask endpoint returns this data, and I made some changes to the field names. Even if I don't see any error on the API client, it will break in production because my frontend is still consuming the old data. Requestly allows you to extend and customize your API requests and responses dynamically using JavaScript. You can basically manipulate requests just before they are sent, or process responses after they are received. For example, when testing authentication endpoints, instead of manually changing the request body every time for login or registration, You can create a pre-request script like create a unique number using a timestamp. Username will be user and this number. Email will be the same, but we'll add a domain. Now we can store these values as environment variables. So whenever I hit this endpoint, it can generate unique data and automatically update my environment variables, which I can then reuse across other requests. For example, when testing the login endpoint, instead of manually changing credentials or copying values around, I can directly use these variables in my request. After I get the response, I can also use a post response script to extract the user token and update my environment variable automatically. I'll get the response body, and if it contains a token, we simply save it into the environment. And now I don't need to copy and paste tokens every time I want to test authenticated endpoints, like fetching user tasks. All I need to do is update the authorization section of the task collection and add my token variable. And it will be used across all requests in this collection. And now we can test the response. Again, I'll open the post response script and write my test. Response should contain expected field names. And inside I can add all my conditions. Let's add the previous field names: ID, name, and completed. When I hit send, the test will run and they'll fail immediately because I've changed the field names. Once I identify the issue, I can fix the API or the test and then commit the updated collection to my repository. Actually, let's write some more tests. For example, we can validate response performance by checking that the request completes in under 1 second. Response time to be less than 1000 milliseconds. We can even validate data types. Let's check if the task ID is a number. So I'll be using response body task ID to be a number. Now when I send the request, you can see all the tests passing. And the powerful part is that these scripts run in JavaScript, so you can even use npm packages directly inside your workspace. And you can find more test examples in the documentation. Finally, since everything runs locally as plain files, your LLM tools can work directly with your API collections. As you can see in the project folder, there is an MD file that gives context for AI tools and explains how the project is structured. There is also a project MD file that you can customize to provide specific instructions for your AI assistant. Cursor, Cloud Code, Codex, or any other LLM-based tool can all work with this local setup. So now, if I create a new endpoint in my application, I can directly ask my LLM to generate or update the corresponding request so I can test it. Or let's say I've added some project level instruction in Project MD. For example, check for any hard-coded credentials, tokens, or secrets, and these should always be referenced from environment variables. Now imagine a team member temporarily hard-coded a token while testing something and forgot to revert it. Later, when I try to fetch user tasks, the request starts failing. At that point, I can ask my LLM to inspect the project context, and it can quickly help identify what changed and where the issue might be. So basically, your codebase and your API client work together, making it much easier to use AI assistants effectively. And believe me, this saves a lot of time during development and debugging. Requestly gives you everything you would expect from a modern API client. Local-first workflows, Git-based control, and built-in testing features, all available for free. I highly recommend you give it a try. Okay, that's all for today. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you in the next one.